Paul had established a congregation in Corinth during his second missionary journey, but 5 years later, they were struggling with serious spiritual problems. So he wrote a stern letter to correct his wayward flock. 1 Corinthians 5, verse 9, I wrote to you in my letter not to associate with sexually immoral people, not at all meaning the sexually immoral of this world, or the greedy and swindlers, or idolaters, since then you would need to go out of the world. But now I am writing to you not to associate with anyone who bears the name of brother, if he is guilty of sexual immorality or greed, or is an idolater, reviler, drunkard, or swindler, not even to eat with such a one. For what have I to do with judging outsiders? Is it not those inside the church whom you are to judge? God judges those outside. Purge the evil person from among you. There are several important points in this passage that we need to consider. First, Paul didn't tell Christians to isolate themselves from unbelievers. Christians live in the world, but should not live like the world. Jesus wanted Christians to be a light to the world, which often helps spread the gospel and win unbelievers to the faith. Second, Paul was content to let God deal with outsiders. God is currently allowing people to do as they please, but there will come a day when he will establish his kingdom on the earth and judge people according to their deeds. Third, Paul expected Christians to obey God's commandments. He listed 6 specific sins, but this wasn't a fixed or final list. The apostles upheld the authority of the Torah and condemned a wide range of sins throughout the New Testament. The 10 Commandments prohibited idolatry, adultery, stealing, and coveting, while Leviticus 18 defined sexual immorality as incest, adultery, sodomy, bestiality, and intercourse during menstruation. The Torah prohibited many forms of verbal abuse, such as blasphemy and cursing one's parents. The law of Moses also prohibited slander or bearing false witness against one's neighbor, and many Old Testament passages condemned drunkenness. Fourth, Paul ordered the church to expel any Christian who intentionally disobeys God's law. If a Christian sins out of ignorance or weakness and is repentant, he should be forgiven and encouraged not to sin again. But if he deliberately sins and refuses to repent, he should be disfellowshipped. Matthew 18, verse 15. If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. The Jews avoided any social contact with Gentiles or tax collectors. They treated them like lepers or garbage. Many people assume that Jesus is like a sweet, cuddly, white little lamb who would never say anything harsh and would never hurt anyone. They don't realize that Jesus is going to kill half the people on this planet at the second coming and cast every sinner into the lake of fire on Judgment Day. Paul quoted from Deuteronomy as his reason for expelling sinners. In 1 Corinthians 5, verse 13, Paul ordered the congregation to purge the evil person from among you. This phrase appears 7 other times in the Bible. All of them come from the book of Deuteronomy, where Moses specified the death penalty for a variety of sins. Many of the sins that Paul listed were death penalty offenses, but not all of them. He insisted on removing any Christian who is openly sinning because God doesn't tolerate willful rebellion and disobedience among His people. The church doesn't have any civil authority to imprison or execute those who break God's law, so the strongest action the congregation can take is to expel a person. Social isolation and the threat of losing salvation has a powerful influence on anyone who still has a conscience. This passage is one piece of evidence that the Torah is God's basic definition of right and wrong for all humanity. Jesus expected His disciples to teach and keep the Mosaic law, and the apostles affirmed the authority of the Torah in the New Testament. So the law of Moses is still relevant as a guide for proper Christian behavior.